Hey guys, how are you doing? This is Chris. Just like I told you guys, I'm gonna be making short videos um, to give you my personal stories and probably encourage somebody out there that they can be able to clean up or sober up from the use of alcohol and substances. Just like I said, I'm Chris. I'm a recovering alcoholic. So this morning, I just want to make a brief introduction about how it started, because I know people have been looking forward to hearing my story. I have told my story before in different forums, in colleges back in the country, in schools, but not in social media spaces like this one. Let me put it like this: it wasn't in my mind that I was going to sober up or that I was going to end my drinking career the day that I ended it. That notwithstanding, I've been able to keep that promise of sobriety since then. So the reason why I'm recording this is because I have people I've worked with before come into my inbox or my DM telling me, Chris, this is my first or second month, but it's so difficult. How do you want me to? How did you do it? How did you make it first month when after you sobered up? So I'll be making this series, and I believe it's gonna touch somebody. Just not somebody, a number of people, because from the stories that I get in my personal spaces or my inboxes, people are willing to stop drinking or to stop drugging, but they don't have somebody to walk them through the whole thing. Some of them were admitted into various treatment facilities. It's always easy to maintain sobriety in a treatment facility because it's a controlled environment. But walking out of the treatment facility post-discharge, it becomes so hard because you're back to the environment where drinking and drugging was taking place, and it's no longer controlled. So those are the people that I'll be talking to. My videos are specifically not meant for the people who don't have alcohol or drug problem. My videos are going to be targeting people who have drug or alcohol problem. Not only that, but they have alcohol and drug problems, and they're willing to give it up. When I sobered up the next year, I decided to take up studies in addiction therapy, and down the line I graduated and started applying my trade as an addiction therapist, not just by what I learned in school about addiction, but also it was blended by my experience as a recovering alcoholic. So the very first thing I'm going to be talking about is how it started. So I started drinking alcohol. Well, the first experience I had with alcohol was when I was slightly above 17. I was in Form 3 then. We decided to go out with a number of friends, and that was my first experience with booze. We clubbed that night, and I remember being convinced, because it was not an easy decision for me, but when I saw others drinking, I also got convinced that it wasn't a bad thing anyway. So fast forward, I drank it, and it felt nice. It gave me the confidence that I needed for the night. I remember speaking to a few members of the opposite gender, and you never have that confidence every day. So after that, I did not drink for the longest time. I only drank again after I graduated high school. Because after graduating high school, I got my identification card, and I was able to now legally go to the clubs and hang out with friends. And after graduating high school, there is the euphoria that you guys are adults and have the right or the freedom to do what adults do. Yeah, so after high school, I had a couple of instances to party and to hang out with friends and all that. It wasn't so bad, and I also did not stay out of school for the longest time after graduating high school, because my parents admitted me into the university beginning of the next year. So that is when I started to drink somewhat heavily, because in the university there was a freedom and the freedom to hang out, to go to clubs and make merry with friends. So my drinking was just okay in the first year. Even when I was a sophomore, it was just okay. We were drinking to have fun. But when I moved from being a sophomore to being a senior, I began to identify that there was a problem. The reason why I began to identify that there was a problem is because my grades started going down. That was fast. At this point, I'd never been involved in any disciplinary issue, and even when I identified I had a problem, or even when I was graduating, I was never summoned into the disciplinary committee for any disciplinary issues or disciplinary actions that were to be taken against me. I was attending my classes normally, but I wasn't concentrating in class. I was just looking forward to the next fix. And then unfortunately enough, my roommates were all users. So it was all party in that room after classes and was over the weekends. So the specific instance where I got to realize that I had a problem, or my drinking had grown from being a social user to a chronic user was there's this one time that we had gone to the coast, we had gone to Mombasa with a group of friends, and we were hanging out in one of these clubs and dancing and just having a lot of fun. And I had drunk a significant amount, and I dropped on the ground. Everything was good, we were all dancing, but all of a sudden I dropped to the ground and got up a few seconds later. Or my friends helped me up a few seconds later. That had never happened to me. I was a strong guy. I'm an athlete. My peers used to refer to me as quote unquote a guzzler or something like that. But this day I dropped down and I reflected. Back when we went back to the rooms, I began to reflect that what could that be? So that was the first instance when I realized my drinking was now not okay. I was not able to tell it to anyone. When my friends asked me what happened, I was just telling them probably fatigue, but deep down within my heart, I knew that no, I've been drinking too much. So my drinking career progressed. I continued to drink despite very negative consequences after a night out or after a party. I would lose my phone. I'm a fellow who would buy phones like every fortnight, because when you go clubbing, I drink a lot. I end up losing my properties, especially my phones or other valuables, which was not the case when I initially started to drink. yeah, so I would lose my value. And this was a pattern. Every other day that we were going out to have fun or to party, I would lose my belongings, and then go back to the hostel and start again. I would go to the club and spend probably all that I had, and then go back to the hostel and start regrouping and probably looking for funds, which was not the case when I initially started. So at this point, I'm not able to keep money or to have money just like I used to when I was a freshman, and that was a problem. So now got the point where now I had to keep calling calling back home for replenishment of pocket money or upkeep, and so I ended up using lies, basically being a con man, to get money, because all that was sent for the week is spent for the purpose not meant for it. My parents started to feel like something was not right, because all of a sudden this fellow is using money real quick, unlike when he was a sophomore or a freshman. The number of calls I was making home for money and not for anything else. I was not even calling to check up on them. I was just calling that I've run out of upkeep and could you be able to send, or I'll get a story. Just make up a story. We are supposed to be buying this book, and we have this trip to get funds. So they also, at this point, they also began to realize that something is not right. Something is going on, which is not right. But an addict, being an expert manipulator, I convinced them and made them realize that I was a senior, and there were a lot of requirements, money requirements. There were a lot of trips. There were a lot of books that I needed to buy. So they kept sending me money, and just like you already know, we were just going to party with that money, or to drink it out and waste it out there. So my drinking graduated and got worse when I was out of campus, because now I was not able to con anyone for anything, for books, for trips, for anything. So I had to work for my own money. And at this point, I'm out of campus, and I am somewhat dependent on the drink, or dependent on the substance. And at that point, I don't have a job, and I am somewhat dependent on the use of substance. I'm not an addict then. I'm just dependent on the substance. I could go a week without drinking, but all my drinking episodes were characterized by very negative consequences, probably accidents, losing valuables, being rude, So fast forward out of campus was not very easy for me. It was so hard. It was very, very hard, and my drinking got really worse, and I fell out with so many people. I fell out with, of course, my family, my siblings, because my needs were too much. I had so many needs, and they were only revolving around money, and where the money was going to. So constantly money needs, and if I could not get it, I would just use my manipulative means to get it. So by the end of the day, I fell out with my siblings, I fell out with my parents, and I fell out with friends. That is the typical addict. You're going to fall out with so many people because of your manipulative nature, and you're not able to give in to the idea of or to anybody, to the idea from anybody that says you might be having a problem. So that happened, and basically at that point in my life, I was alone. I was all alone because I had used my opportunities, um, and I had squandered those opportunities to get something out of life. And people also gave up on me, and I don't blame them at all, because an addict is a piece of work. People also gave up on me, and so I was just living a life that does not depict God in it, or probably had fallen short of God's glory. Okay. At some point, I was able to rediscover myself, and I was able to get a job. I was able to get a job at one of the banks in the country as a customer retention agent. Thanks to a family member who gave me this link, and I applied for the job and got it. I had rediscovered myself, but I had not rediscovered myself fully. I was still drinking. I got this job and started working in the bank at the front office as a customer retention agent. So it was quite an experience for me working in the bank. I got to meet people of great personalities in the country, and my drinking still continued. At this point, I'm young. I have this corporate job. Again, I'm not at par with my peers, quote unquote, because most of my peers still did not have jobs then. But I was so lucky. I don't know how God was very merciful with me, even despite falling short of His glory. So I worked at the bank, but I continued to drink. There was a university around the place, so I would go hang out. You see, I still had that university mentality, so I would still go out there and hang out with the university students and drink. And I was not at par with them financially, so most of the time I was buying booze for them. So I became very popular amongst them. So they were always looking forward to evenings, because during the evenings I would come over and buy booze and give them a treat every evening after coming back from work. And I also could drink. I also was drinking, and working in the bank and drinking all through don't go together. So it was just a matter of time before the manager or my manager got to know or got to realize that I was drinking too much, and come to work with bloodshot eyes. And I was doing a good job ensuring that I don't smell of alcohol, but I was coming to work so fatigued and with bloodshot eyes, and my manager got to realize that. And at that point, I also had a problem with smoking. So I would take breaks. Probably over lunch, and go smoke and come back. And you can't do that in the bank. So I made myself an exception. I would go take break outside the bank and come back. So that did not happen too long, because my manager just summoned me and told me, you can't do that. I mean, it's not allowed. You can't do that. That is why there is a cafeteria inside the bank. So that now that's a problem. I'm also addicted to smoking, and it's virtually impossible to go the whole day without smoking. So you can tell the kind of a problem that was. So fast forward, I had to resign. I had to resign from the bank thanks to my addiction. And yeah, because I was just unable to work. You know, I was a smoker and an addict. I mean, addiction, tobacco addiction is not one of the easiest things to deal with. Yeah, so now at this point I have to work the whole day within the bank and not leave and not smoke. So it was so difficult for me. Leave alone alcohol. Alcohol, you know, you can go. I would go the whole day without drinking and really drink in the evening. So I quit and I had some savings. My small mind would tell me I can be able to live off these savings before I can get myself another job. I lived off these savings, I finished the savings, and I was back to being miserable and desperate. I used all of it. So fast forward, I mean, there's a lot that happened after I used all my savings. There's a lot of drama that went on. There's a lot of hopelessness. I went into depression, but by good luck again, the 18th time, God opened my ways, and I got another job with a civic organization as an educator. So this one was not very strict. This one you did things how you program yourself, as long as you're doing reports and sending the reports, and you know it was more of civic education. You're doing your reports, and you're training the civic or the public, and giving evidence to it that you trained, but at your own time you trained, and there were signatures, and you know your money came in. I did that, and for the longest time I was very good, because this one there is no definite schedule. You developed your own schedule. So I was able to develop my own schedule and work very well. However, after some years of working, after some time of working, my addiction again caught up with me. And I was not even now able to develop my own schedule. I was not sending in reports to Nairobi. My boss would call me, and I was MIA, I was missing in action. Fast forward, I deserted. And when I resurfaced and wrote my resignation letter before I was terminated. So one thing is, over time I have been able to develop my relationship with my previous bosses, and they knew that I was having a challenge. They knew that my drinking was a problem, but I was in denial. And I was not ready to accept that I had a problem. But over time, we have been able to redevelop our relationship with them, and we're in good relationships. And even I've used them as my references again, and they referenced me pretty well, and I ended up getting the jobs that they referenced me. I've even worked again with them after leaving the jobs that I did with them. One of them I consulted for him, and we enjoy a very decent relationship. And even when I was working as an addiction professional, they referred their employees to me to work with them, because they knew that I had that challenge, and they knew how I overcame, and the kind of the life that I'm leading. Yeah, so those who are my episodes that I had to waste opportunities, and time had really moved. By the time I was quitting the next job that I had, that was for a matter of fact paying really well, but I had to just throw in the towel, because I was not being productive anymore because of the use. So at this point, addiction had overwhelmed me. It had overwhelmed me, and I was living to use and using to live. So I'd like you to find out what happened next after addiction overwhelmed me to the point now I could not even keep any job or even look for another job, because I was living to use and using to live, and my day would start by drinking and end by drinking. So please join me in my next video to tell you what happened when I hit the rock bottom. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again. Bye.